Chapter 1. 5 seconds to change your life. Oh, you are about to learn something remarkable. It takes just 5 seconds to change your life. Sounds like a gimmick, doesn't it? It's not. It's science. I'll prove it to you. You change your life one 5-second decision at a time. In fact, it's the only way you change. This is the true story of the 5-second rule, what it is, why it works, and how it has transformed the lives of people around the world. The rule is easy to learn and its impact is profound. It's the secret to changing anything. Once you learn the rule, you can start using it immediately. The rule will help you live, love, work, and speak with greater confidence and courage every day. Use it once and it'll be there for you whenever you need it. I created the 5-second rule at a time in my life when everything was falling apart. And by everything, I mean everything. My marriage, finances, career, and self-esteem were all in the gutter. My problem seemed so big that it was a struggle each morning just to get out of bed. That's actually how the rule began. I invented the rule to help me break my habit of hitting the snooze button. When I used the rule for the very first time 7 years ago, I thought it was silly. Little did I know that I had invented a powerful metacognition technique that would change absolutely everything about my life, work, and sense of self. What's happened to me since discovering the 5-second rule and the power of 5-second decisions is unbelievable. I not only woke up, I shook up my entire life. I've used this one tool to take control and improve everything from my confidence to my cash flow, my marriage to my career, and my productivity to my parenting. I have gone from bouncing checks to 7 figures in the bank and from fighting with my husband to celebrating 20 years of marriage. I've cured myself of anxiety, built and sold 2 small businesses, been recruited to join the teams at CNN and Success magazine, and I'm now one of the most booked speakers in the world. I've never felt more in control, happy, or free. I couldn't have done any of it without the rule. The 5-second rule changed everything, by teaching me just one thing: how to change. Using the rule, I replaced my tendency to overthink the smallest moves with a bias toward action. I used the rule to master self-monitoring and become more present and productive. The rule taught me how to stop doubting and start believing in myself, my ideas, and my abilities. And the rule has given me the inner strength to become a better and much happier person, not for others, but for me. The rule can do the same for you. That's why I am so excited to share it with you. In the next few chapters, you'll learn the story behind the rule, what it is, why it works, and the compelling science to back it up. You'll discover how 5-second decisions and acts of everyday courage change your life. Finally, you'll learn how you can use the hashtag 5-second rule in combination with the latest research-backed strategies to become healthier, happier, and more productive and effective at work. You'll also learn how to use it to end worry, manage anxiety, find meaning in your life, and beat any fear. And that's not all. You'll see proof. Lots of proof. This book is packed with social media posts and first-hand accounts from people all over the world who are using the rule to make some amazing things happen. Yes, the rule will help you wake up on time, but what it really does is something far more remarkable. It wakes up the inner genius, leader, rock star, athlete, artist, and change agent inside of you. When you first learn the rule, you'll likely start using it to stick to your goals. You might use the rule to push yourself to get to the gym like Margaret does when she isn't feeling it. Or you may use the rule to become more influential at work. That's how Mal first used the rule to find the courage to meet with his boss and talk about his career goals, something that so many of us fear. Thanks to the rule, it not only happened, but it went great. That's another thing that's unique about the rule. I may have created it, but it's not just my story to tell. Inside this book, you'll meet people around the world from all walks of life who are using the rule, in ways big and small, to take charge of their lives. Their diverse experiences will help you understand just how limitless the applications for the rule and its benefits truly are. You can use the rule to become more productive. Before the 5-second rule, Laura used to make endless to-do lists and sat around making excuses and being a jerk to herself. Now, there's no room in Laura's life for excuses, only action. Laura has increased her cash flow by $4,000 a month, finished her bachelor's degree, and hiked a few 4,000 footers. Next up, run a marathon. You can use the rule to step outside of your comfort zone and become more effective at networking. Ken used the 5-second rule the same day he learned it at the Project Management Institute National Conference to meet movers and shakers. Matthew used it to cold call C-level executives, and Alan used it to meet a dozen folks I wouldn't have otherwise at a PGA Tour event. You can also use the rule to self-monitor and control your emotions. Jenna uses the rule as a mom to practice patience instead of snapping at her kids. She's also using it as a sales tool in her new direct selling business. The rule helps her stop thinking about how intimidating it is to sell and gives her the courage to just start selling. Executives inside some of the world's most respected brands are using the rule to help their managers change, drive sales, engage teams, and innovate. Take Crystal at USAA, whose entire sales team is using the 5-second rule, and the result has been awesome. They've jumped to #1 in our location. The #5-second rule is so easy to learn and so important for confidence that we see managers, like Moods, teaching it to their teams all over the world. You'll also be inspired by the stories of people who are finding the courage to stop thinking and start putting their ideas into action. Mark, who, after decades of thinking about starting a nonprofit ice hockey league for inner city kids, used the rule to finally get the idea out of my head and into action. He's now partnered with former Olympians and NHL alumni to create camps, clinics, and leagues. The rule is also a powerful tool in the battles of addiction and depression. Bill learned about the #5-second rule on a Reddit thread, and it was the right message, right place, right time. He started using the rule's countdown trick to quit drinking, and it's working amazing. He just celebrated his 40th birthday completely sober. And it might even save your life. A work colleague of mine recently reached out and shared a very poignant #5-second rule story with me. After he and his wife split up, he fell into a deep depression. It got so bad that he contemplated suicide. At his lowest point, he used the rule to put it down and call for help. Finding the courage to get out of his head by counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and then calling for help saved his life. In using the rule for more than 7 years, and hearing from people all over the world, I've come to realize that every single day we face moments that are difficult, uncertain, and scary. Your life requires courage. And that is exactly what the rule will help you discover: the courage to become your greatest self. How can one simple tool work in so many powerful ways? Great question. The #5-second rule is only ever working on one thing: you. You have greatness inside of you. Even at your lowest point, greatness is there. The rule will give you both the clarity to hear that greatness and the courage to act on it. Using the rule, I have discovered the courage to do things that I had spent years thinking about and making excuses for. Only through action have I unlocked the power inside of me to become the person that I've always wanted to be. And the confidence I exhibit on TV, online, and on stage is what I call real confidence. I built real confidence by learning how to honor my instincts with action so that they come to life in the real world. I use the word honor on purpose. That's what you are doing when you use the rule. You are honoring yourself. You are championing your ideas. And each time you use it, you take one step closer to being the person you are truly meant to be. I have changed from the kind of person who just thinks about my ideas to having the confidence to share, act on, and pursue them. If you use the rule consistently and you honor your instincts with action, the exact same transformation will happen to you. Marlo discovered just how easy it is to use the rule to transform herself. Days after learning the rule, she used it to stop thinking about signing up for classes and actually do it, which was something she had been wanting to do but kept making excuses for a long time. As Marlo put it, it's absolutely incredible and awe-inspiring how easy things become once you wrap your head around your own ability to push yourself. She's right. Once you start using the rule to push yourself out of your head and into action, you'll be astonished by how easy it is to make a 5-second decision that changes everything. As I used the rule more and more in my life, I realized that I was making small decisions all day long that held me back. In 5 seconds flat, I'd decide to stay quiet, to wait, and not to risk it. I'd have an instinct to act, and within 5 seconds my mind would kill it with doubt, excuses, worry, or fear. I was the problem, and in 5 seconds, I could push myself and become the solution. The secret to change had been right in front of my face the entire time. 5 seconds decisions. Have you ever seen that famous commencement address David Foster Wallace gave at Kenyon College in 2005? If you haven't seen or read this speech, you can Find it on YouTube and it's definitely worth the 20 minutes it takes to watch. In it, Wallace steps up to the mic and starts off with this joke. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other and goes, "What the hell is water?" You can hear the audience laugh in the video, and then Wallace explains the immediate point of the fish story is that the most obvious, important realities are often the ones that are the hardest to see and talk about. For me, the hardest thing to see and talk about was the very nature of change itself. I had always wondered why it was so damn hard to make myself do the things that I knew I should do in order to expand my career, enrich my relationships, become healthier, and improve my life. Discovering the hashtag 5-second rule gave me the $1,000,000 answer. Change comes down to the courage you need every day to make 5-second decisions. You are one decision away from a completely different life. Inside this book, I'm going to share everything that I've learned about change and the power of everyday courage. You're going to love what you are about to learn. The coolest part will be when you start to use the rule and see the results for yourself. You will not only wake up and realize just how much you've held yourself back, you will also awaken the power that's been inside of you all along. As you read the stories inside these pages, you might even realize that you've used the hashtag 5-second rule before. If you look back on your life and reflect on some of the most important moments, I guarantee that you've made a life-changing decision purely on instinct. In 5 seconds flat, you made what I call a heart-first decision. You ignored your fears and let your courage and your confidence speak for you. 5 seconds of courage makes all the difference. Just ask Catherine. When she first learned about the hashtag 5-second rule at her company's executive leadership offsite, it made her realize she had used the rule to make one of the most important decisions of her life. She just didn't realize it at the time. In 1990, her sister Tracy was killed and Catherine traveled back home to help. That's when a 5-second decision changed not only her life but so many others as well. She decided to raise her sister's two little ones who were left behind when Tracy died. I love how she describes the decision as a no-brainer because when you act with courage, your brain is not involved. Your heart speaks first and you listen. The rule will teach you how. Will it take some effort on your part to discover the power within you? Yes, it will. But as Marlowe said just a few pages ago, it is absolutely incredible and awe-inspiring. How easy things become when you do. Doing the work to improve your life is simple, you can do it, and it's work you want to do because it's the most important work that there is. It is the work of learning how to love and trust yourself enough to stop waiting and to start leaning into all the magic, opportunity, and joy that your life, work, and relationships have to offer. I'm so excited to hear about what happens when you start using the hashtag 5-second rule. But I'm jumping ahead of the story. Before we can talk about all of the exciting ways that you can use the rule, I need to take you back to 2009 and explain how this all started. Courage / noun. The ability to do something that is difficult or scary. Stepping outside of your comfort zone. Sharing your ideas, speaking up, or showing up. Standing firm in your beliefs and values. And some days, getting out of bed. Chapter 2. How I discovered the 5-second rule. His all started in 2009. I was 41 years old and facing some major problems. With money, work, and in my marriage. As soon as I woke up each morning, all I felt was dread. Have you ever felt that way? It's the worst. The alarm rings, and you just don't feel like getting up and facing the day. Or, you lie awake at night with your head spinning as you worry about all of your problems. That was me. For months, I felt so overwhelmed by the problems I had that I could barely get out of bed. When the alarm rang at 6 a.m., I would lie there and think about the day ahead, the lien on the house, the negative account balance, my failed career, how much I resented my husband, and then I would hit the snooze button. Not once, but over and over again. In the beginning, it wasn't a big deal, but as is the case with any bad habit, as time went on, it snowballed into a much bigger problem that impacted my entire day. By the time I finally got up, the kids had missed the bus and I felt like I was failing at life. I spent most of my days tired, running late, and feeling totally overwhelmed. I don't even know how it started, I just remember feeling so defeated all the time. My professional life was in the gutter. Over the past 12 years, I had changed careers so many times that I was developing multiple personalities. After graduating from law school, I started my career as a public defender for the Legal Aid Criminal Defense Society in NYC. Then I met my husband Chris and we got married and moved to Boston so that he could pursue his MBA. In Boston, I worked crazy hours for a large law firm and was miserable all the time. When our daughter was born, I used my maternity leave to look for a new job and landed in the Boston startup scene. I worked for several tech startups during those years. It was fun and I learned a lot, but I never felt like tech was the right career for me. I hired a coach to help me figure out what to do with my life. Working with a coach led me to want to become one. So, like a lot of people, I worked during the day, focused on the kids when I got home, and then I studied at night to get the certification I needed. Eventually, I launched a coaching business. I loved it, and I would probably still be doing it if the media had not called. My media career began as a fluke. Inc. magazine published an article featuring my coaching business and an executive at CNBC saw it and called. That one call led to lots of meetings. After months of tryouts, I landed a development deal with ABC and a call-in radio show on Sirius. Sounds fancy, but it wasn't. I was surprised to learn that most development deals pay next to nothing and that radio pays even less than that. In reality, I was a mother of 3 driving back and forth to NYC, sleeping on friends' couches in the city, coaching clients on the side to make the ends meet, leaning too much on friends and family to fill the childcare gaps, and doing whatever I could to make it all work. After several years scraping by in the media business, I got my big break. I was cast to host a reality show for Fox. I had visions of magically solving all of our financial problems by becoming a TV star. What a joke. We shot a few episodes of a show called Someone's Gotta Go, and then the network tabled the show. In an instant, my media career hit a dead end. I only got paid if we were shooting. I found myself unemployed and locked into a contract for 10 months that prevented me from pursuing another media job. By this point, Chris had finished his MBA and started a thin crust pizza restaurant with his best friend in the Boston area. In the beginning, things were going great. The first location was a home run, the company won Best of Boston trademark, multiple regional awards, and the pizza was fantastic. They opened up a second restaurant and, on the encouragement of a large grocery chain, a wholesale operation. On the outside, it looked like business was booming. But on the balance sheet, the wheels were starting to come off. They had expanded too quickly. The second restaurant failed and the wholesale business needed more cash to grow. Things got scary very fast. Like a lot of small business owners, we had poured our home equity line and life savings into the restaurant business and it was now disappearing before our eyes. We had no savings left and the home equity line was fully tapped out. Weeks went by without Chris getting paid. Liens started to hit our house. With me out of work and Chris's business struggling, the financial pressure mounted. Scary letters from attorneys seemed to arrive daily and checks constantly bounced. The collection calls were so relentless that we unplugged the phone. When my dad sent us money to cover the mortgage, I was both grateful and ashamed. In public, we tried to keep up appearances because so many friends and family members had invested in the restaurant business, which only made the pressure worse. Chris and his partner were working around the clock to save it. I tried to keep an upbeat facade, but on the inside I was overwhelmed, embarrassed, and afraid. Our financial problems were tearing us apart. I blamed the restaurants and he blamed me for pursuing a career in the media business. In truth, we were both to blame. No matter how bad your life can seem, you can always make it worse. I did. I drank too much. Way too much. I was jealous of friends who didn't have to work. I was bitchy and judgmental. Our problem seemed so big that I convinced myself there was nothing I could do. Meanwhile, in public, I just pretended everything was fine. In hindsight, I can see that it was just easier to feel sorry for myself and blame Chris and his struggling business than to take a look in the mirror and pull myself together. The best way to describe how I felt was trapped. I felt trapped by my life and the decisions I had made. I felt trapped by our money problems. And I felt trapped in a frustrating struggle with myself. I knew what I should or could be doing to make things better, but I couldn't make myself do those things. They were small things: getting up on time, being nicer to Chris, getting support from friends, drinking less, and taking better care of myself. But knowing what you need to do isn't enough to create a change. I would think about exercising, but I wouldn't. I would consider calling a friend to talk, but I didn't. I knew that if I tried to find a job outside of the media industry, it would help, but I couldn't motivate myself to look. I didn't feel comfortable going back to coaching people because I felt like such a failure myself. I knew what I needed to do, but I couldn't make myself take action. And that's the thing that makes changing so hard. Change requires you to do things that feel hard and scary. Change requires courage and confidence, and I was tapped out of both. What I did do was spend a lot of time thinking. Thinking made everything worse. The more I thought about the situation that we were in, the more afraid I felt. That's what your mind does when you focus on problems, it magnifies them. The more I worried, the more uncertain and overwhelmed I became. The more I thought, the more paralyzed I felt. Every night, I'd have a few drinks to take the edge off. I'd climb in bed drunk or buzzed, close my eyes, and dream about a different life, one where I didn't have to work and all of our problems had magically disappeared. The moment I woke up, I had to face reality. My life was a nightmare. I was 41, unemployed, in financial ruin, struggling with a drinking problem, and had zero confidence in my or my husband's abilities to fix our problems. That's where the snooze button came in. I hit it 2, 3, or 4 times a morning. When I hit that snooze button, it was the one moment every day where I actually felt like I was in control. It was an act of defiance. It was as if I were saying, "Oh yeah, take that, life. I'm not getting up right now, I'm going back to sleep." So, there. By the time I finally got up, Chris had already left for the restaurants, the kids were in various states of dress, and the school bus was long gone. To say mornings were chaotic would be putting it politely. They were a train wreck. We were always late. I forgot lunches, backpacks, gym bags, and permission slips as we raced out the door. I felt ashamed by the number of balls I dropped every single day. Feeling that shame just put me on edge even more. And here's the kicker: I knew what I needed to do to start my day right. I needed to get up on time, make breakfast, and get the kids on the bus. Then I needed to look for a job. It's not like I had to climb Mount Everest. However, the fact that it was simple stuff actually made it worse. I had no legitimate excuse for why I couldn't get it done. My self-confidence was in a death spiral. If I couldn't even get up on time, how the heck could I have faith in myself to fix the bigger financial and marriage problems that Chris and I faced? Looking back, I can see that I was losing hope. Have you ever noticed how the smallest things can feel so hard? Having heard from thousands of you, I know that I am not alone on this one. The list of hard things is surprisingly universal. Speaking in a meeting, staying positive, making a decision, finding time for yourself, asking for feedback, raising your hand, asking for a raise, ending self-doubt, working on your resume, hitting send on emails, sticking to your plan, leaving the house, volunteering to go first, showing up at a reunion, blocking an ex on social media, talking to someone you find attractive, stepping on a dance floor, publishing your work, getting to the gym, eating in moderation, saying no, asking for help, letting your guard down, admitting you are wrong, listening. In my case, it was getting up on time. Lying in bed every night, I would make promises to myself that tomorrow I would change. Tomorrow, I will change. Tomorrow, I will wake up earlier. Tomorrow, I will have a better attitude and try a little harder. I will go to the gym. I'll be nice to my husband. I'll eat healthy. I won't drink so much. Tomorrow I will be the future me. And with that vision in mind and a heart full of hope, I'd set my alarm for 6 a.m. and close my eyes. And the cycle would begin the very next morning. As soon as that alarm rang, I didn't feel like the future me. I felt like the old me, and the old me wanted to keep sleeping. Yes, I thought about getting up, and then I would hesitate, roll toward the alarm, and hit the snooze button. 5 seconds was all it took for me to talk myself out of it. The reason that I didn't get out of bed was simple, I just didn't feel like it. I would later learn that I was stuck in what researchers call a habit loop. I had hit the snooze button so many mornings in a row the behavior was now a closed loop pattern encoded in my brain. Then one night, everything changed. I was about to turn off the TV and head to bed when a television commercial caught my attention. There on the screen was the image of a rocket launching. I could hear the famous final 5-second countdown, 5 4 3 2 1, fire and smoke filled the screen, and the shuttle launched. I thought to myself, that's it, I'll launch myself out of bed tomorrow, like a rocket. I'll move so fast I won't have time to talk myself out of it. It was just an instinct. One that I could have easily dismissed. Luckily, I didn't. I acted on it. The fact is, I wanted to solve our problems. I didn't want to destroy my marriage or keep feeling like the world's worst mom. I wanted to be financially secure. I wanted to feel happy and proud of myself again. And I desperately wanted to change. I just didn't know how. And this is an important point in my story. This instinct to launch myself out of bed was my inner wisdom talking. Hearing it was a tipping point. Following its instructions was life-changing. Your brain and your body send you signals to wake up and to pay attention. This idea of launching myself out of bed is an example of that. Your instincts may seem stupid in the moment, but when you honor them with deliberate action, it can change your life. There's more to this point about acting on your instincts than just the phrase, trust your gut. New research from the University of Arizona, in partnership with Cornell and Duke, has shown that there's a powerful connection between your brain and your instinct to act. When you set a goal, your brain opens up a task list. Whenever you are near things that can help you achieve those goals, your brain fires up your instincts to signal to get that goal completed. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a goal to get healthier. If you walk into a living room, nothing happens. If you walk past a gym, however, your prefrontal cortex lights up. Because you are near something related to getting healthier. As you pass the gym, you'll feel like you should exercise. That's an instinct reminding you of the goal. That's your inner wisdom, and it's important to pay attention to it, no matter how small or silly that instinct may seem. Subconsciously, my brain was signaling me to pay attention to this rocket launch on TV. In that 5-second moment, my brain was sending me a very clear set of instructions. Pay attention to that rocket launch, Mel. Grab the idea. Believe in it. And do it. Don't stop and think. Don't talk yourself out of it. Launch yourself out of bed tomorrow, Mel. That's one of the things I've learned using the hashtag 5-second rule. When it comes to goals, dreams, and changing your life, your inner wisdom is a genius. Your goal-related impulses, urges, and instincts are there to guide you. You need to learn to bet on them. Because, as history proves, you'll never know when your greatest inspiration will strike and where that discovery will lead you if you trust yourself enough to act on it. This is how some of the world's most useful inventions were discovered. In 1826, John Walker discovered the match while he was using a stick to stir a pot of chemicals, and when he tried to scrape a gob off the end it ignited. He followed his instinct to try to recreate it, and this is how he discovered the match. In 1941, George de Mestral invented Velcro registered after noticing how easily cockleburs attached to his dog's fur. In 1974, Art Fry got the idea for the post-it registered note because he needed a bookmark that would stay put on a page in his hymnal until Sunday's church service, but that would not damage the pages when he removed it. That's even how the Frappuccino was born. In 1992, an assistant manager at a Starbucks in Santa Monica noticed that sales dropped whenever it was hot outside. He had an instinct to make a frozen drink and he followed it, asking for a blender, tinkering with recipes, and giving a vice president a sample. The first Frappuccino rolled out in his store a year later. When it comes to change, goals, and dreams, you have to bet on yourself. That bet starts with hearing the instinct to change and honoring that instinct with action. I feel so thankful that I listened to my dumb idea about launching myself out of bed like a rocket because everything in my life changed as a result of it. Here's what happened. The next morning the alarm rang at 6 a.m. and the first thing I felt was dread. It was dark. It was cold. It was winter in Boston and I did not want to wake up. I thought about the rocket launch and I immediately felt like it was stupid. Then, I did something that I had never done before. I ignored how I felt. I didn't think. I did what needed to be done. Instead of hitting the snooze button, I started counting. Backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I stood up. That was the exact moment I discovered the hashtag 5-second rule. The 5-second rule. The moment you have an instinct to act on a goal, you must 5-4-3-2-1. And physically move or your brain will stop you. W. Chapter 3. What you can expect when you use it. Hen, I used the rule that first morning. I was as surprised as you are that something that stupid worked. Counting backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Seriously. I didn't know why it worked. I just knew it did. I had struggled for months to wake up on time, and suddenly the hashtag 5-second rule made changing my behavior simple. Later I would learn that when you count backwards, you mentally shift the gears. In your mind, you interrupt your default thinking and do what psychologists call assert control. The counting distracts you from your excuses and focuses your mind on moving in a new direction. When you physically move instead of stopping to think, your physiology changes and your mind falls in line. In researching this book, I discovered that the rule is, in the language of habit research, a starting ritual that activates the prefrontal cortex, helping to change your behavior. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that you use when you focus, change, or take deliberate actions. I knew what the prefrontal cortex was, but I would soon learn through my research about the basal ganglia, habit loops, activation energy, behavior flexibility, cognitive biases, neural plasticity, the progress principle, and locus of control. I certainly didn't realize I had just discovered a singular technique that impacted all of them. I used the rule the next morning, and it worked again. And then a funny thing happened. I started to see 5-second moments all day long, just like my struggle to wake up on time. If I stopped to think about what I knew I needed to do, I was toast. It took less than 5 seconds for excuses to flood my mind and for my own brain to stop me. As you use the rule, you'll see it too. There is a 5-second window between your initial instinct to act and your brain stopping you. Seeing the 5-second window changed everything for me. The problem was very clear. It was me. I was holding myself back, 5 seconds at a time. So I made myself a simple promise: if I knew that I should do something that could change me for the better, then I would use the rule to push myself to do it, regardless of how I felt. I started using the rule to force myself to not only get up early, but also to get to the gym, look for a job, drink less, and be a better parent and wife. If I started to feel too tired to exercise, I would 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and push myself out the door for a run. If I started pouring a drink that I shouldn't have, I'd 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and put down the bottle of bourbon and walk away. If I felt myself being bitchy with Chris, I'd 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and correct my tone and make myself be kinder. If I caught myself procrastinating, I'd 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and sit down and start working on my resume. What I discovered is powerful. Pushing yourself to take simple actions creates a chain reaction in your confidence and your productivity. By pushing yourself to take the simple steps of moving your life forward, you create momentum and experience a sense of freedom and power that's hard to accurately describe. Rachel found that the simple step of getting up on time started a chain of events that led to her losing 30 pounds, bought my first home, and reinvigorated my marriage. Rachel used the word reinvigorated, and that's exactly what the rule does. Rebecca had the same experience. By using the rule to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and push herself to make small moves forward, she's breaking out of a mental jail. No longer trapped by analysis paralysis, Rebecca feels free for the first time in 47 years. There's an important concept in psychology put forth by Julian Rotter in 1954. It's called locus of control. The more that you believe that you are in control of your life, your actions, and your future, the happier and more successful you'll be. There's one thing that is guaranteed to increase your feelings of control over your life: a bias toward action. Forget motivation, it's a myth. I don't know when we all bought into the idea that in order to change you must feel eager or feel motivated to act. It's complete garbage. The moment it's time to assert yourself, you will not feel motivated. In fact, you won't feel like doing anything at all. If you want to improve your life, you'll need to get off your rear end and kick your own butt. In my world, I call that the power of a push. One of the reasons why the hashtag 5-second rule is so empowering is because it turns you into the kind of person who operates with a bias toward action. If you tend to overthink every move, you'll discover the energy and confidence to stop thinking and actually move. Using the rule strengthens your belief that you do have the ability to control your own fate because you are proving it to yourself one push at a time. Jenny is finally taking control of her health. She realized that when she would eat a meal of canned raviolis, a bag of chips, and a soda, then complain about being overweight, she was sabotaging her efforts to lose weight. By committing to 5-4-3-2-1 healthy, Jenny was able to use the rule to give herself the kick in the arse she needed. When Donna first learned the rule at an Aveda Institute conference, she thought, yeah, I'll use it, but it's not going to be life-changing. That's how I felt about the rule too, that I'd just use it as a trick to beat the snooze alarm. Boy, was I wrong. So was Donna. It changed just about everything in her life and business. As Donna found, only we can hold ourselves back. It's amazing to see how horribly I held myself hostage out of fear and where I am today. More importantly, where I see myself in years to come. As you use the rule more and more, you'll begin to feel courage, confidence, pride, and a sense of control. The rule has that effect. I often tell people the rule will haunt you, and I mean it. Just ask Daryl. That's because you'll realize you've been sleepwalking through life for a long time. Something this simple, easy, and effective is also contagious. Crystal has already started using it with her son. The first person I told about the rule was my husband. Chris had definitely noticed the changes, in particular that my bitchy demeanor was melting and that I was actually being proactive. It didn't take much to convince him that there was a secret weapon mentality he was living without. He adopted the rule and used it to make some major changes. He quit drinking, started meditating daily, and exercising every morning. The rule doesn't make these things easy, it makes them happen. That's why I describe it as a tool. Instead of avoiding the creditor calls and bankruptcy letters, we 5-4-3-2-1 to hit it head on. I used 5-4-3-2-1 to push myself to reach out to old coaching clients to rev up the referral engine. I used 5-4-3-2-1 to propel myself to go on interviews for radio hosting gigs, despite the contract issues with Fox. Together we 5-4-3-2-1 to push ourselves to meet with accountants and financial advisors to restructured our debt and do the nauseating work to face the hole we had dug, and get disciplined about slowly crawling our way out of it. Chris brought the rule into his business to push himself through fear, guilt, and uncertainty. He and his partner met with dozens of advisors, crunched financial models, worked day and night until they closed the wholesale business, and grew their retail locations, enabling them to sell off select locations and pay back as many investors and creditors that they could. It's remarkable what Chris and Jonathan did. Grit, hustle, and commitment. They pushed, and pushed some more. To this day, when Chris reflects on the restaurant days, his mind will sometimes drift toward feeling like a failure. When he catches himself thinking those negative thoughts, he uses 5-4-3-2-1 to redirect his mind to think about what they did build: 7 restaurants, an incredible employee culture, millions in revenue, and a remarkable brand. Did it end up how he had dreamt? No, it didn't. But what he learned about business, partnership, and himself during the process is worth more than money can buy. There's nothing more powerful than the feeling of confidence and pride you gain when you keep trudging forward, face life's challenges head on, and push yourself to change for the better. As Chris put it, the rule helped me process the experience of succeeding and failing on so many levels. Ultimately, this awareness gave me power and control over my positive and negative thoughts. As we started to reconnect with friends, the rule would often come up. You'll find that too. Jennifer learned the rule and told her nurse about it. Her nurse's response: "You have no idea how many times I'll need to do this a day." The rule ignites something powerful in everyone who tries it. One of our friends had the courage to ask for a divorce, and another left his consulting job for one that didn't require travel. A work pal lost 73 pounds, and my uncle stopped talking about giving up smoking and finally quit. A friend of Chris's moved back to Maine and used the rule to negotiate an awesome job working remotely. The hashtag 5-second rule gave them all what it had given me: the framework, the courage, and the method for how to push yourself to change. The first time I shared the rule in public was in 2011 during a TEDx talk entitled "How to Stop Screwing Yourself Over." The funny thing is that the talk was Mostly about my dream, back then, of becoming a top talk radio show host and how I help people live the lives that they really want. I only mention the hashtag 5-second rule at the very end of the speech, and I barely even explain it. What happened next was crazy. The talk went viral. Millions of people watched it online. And that's not all. They started writing. Every single day, I hear from people around the world who are using the rule. Just like Mark. Mark is using it to create some pretty incredible changes in just 6 months. It's the coolest thing. More than 100,000 people in more than 80 countries, to date, have written to me about their experiences using it. As more and more people started to write with questions and requests for more information, I began to research the rule in depth so that I could better explain the many ways you can use it and prove why it works. I'm a lawyer by profession, so I really went nuts on the research. I looked for precedent, evidence, and guidance as if I were going to have to prove my case about the hashtag 5-second rule to a jury. It took me almost 3 years. I read everything I could find on the subject of change, happiness, habits, motivation, and human behavior. I read social science experiments, happiness research, books on the brain, and neuroscience studies. I didn't limit my research to the experts. I sent questionnaires to everyday people like you and me, who were using the rule. Then I got on the phone, Skype, and Google Chat, and dug into the step-by-step experiences of what someone faces the moment they choose to change. As I deconstructed the moment of change, I uncovered something fundamental about how each and every one of us is wired. Right before we're about to do something that feels difficult, scary, or uncertain, we hesitate. Hesitation is the kiss of death. You might hesitate for a just nanosecond, but that's all it takes. That one small hesitation triggers a mental system that's designed to stop you. And it happens in less than you guessed it 5 seconds. Ever notice how fast fear and self-doubt take over your head and you start making up excuses for why you shouldn't say something or do something? We hold ourselves back in the smallest, most mundane moments every day, and that impacts everything. If you break this habit of hesitating and you find the courage to take some kind of action, you'll be astonished by how fast your life changes. That's what Keith discovered after learning the rule at a Re/Max convention. Now he's able to do extraordinary things. You see, it's not the big moves that define our lives, it's the smallest ones. Within 5 seconds of stopping to think, you'll have decided not to take any action on those small things. Over time, those small decisions build. And here's the kicker. We've repeated this pattern of hesitating, worrying, and doubting ourselves so much that these actions are now habits that have encoded in our brains. The fact that hesitating, holding yourself back, and overthinking are habits is good news. There's a simple, proven way to break or replace bad habits, and the hashtag 5-second rule is the easiest way to do it. Once you read about habit loops, starting rituals, activation energy, and the role that feelings play in triggering your decisions, you'll appreciate the magnitude of the hashtag 5-second rule. As you use the rule, you'll see how change hinges on 5-second decisions and just how easily you can take back control. The rule will work every time you use it. But you have to use it. It is a tool. If you stop using it, fear and uncertainty will creep back in and take control of your decisions. If that happens, just start using the rule again. As you use the rule over time, you'll experience a shift inside yourself that is much deeper, a transformation that impacts confidence and inner strength. You will come face to face with the excuses, habits, feelings, insecurities, and fears that have haunted you for years. You will see the bullshit you put yourself through every day, and how much precious time you waste waiting for things to change. By using the rule, that waiting will end. You will be absolutely amazed by how much joy and freedom you feel by making 5-second decisions. Freedom is exactly how Robin described what she gets from using the rule. And that's what I've gained to life-changing freedom. The person I was 7 years ago is gone. And that's a good thing. Every phase of your life and career will require a different you. Using the rule, you'll become the person you're meant to become in this next phase of your life. So, what do you say we dig into the basics of the rule so you can start using it? Oh. Chapter 4. Why the rule works. Over the years, I've received lots of questions about the hashtag 5-second rule. I wanted to start your introduction to using the rule by answering some of the most frequently asked question I've received about this awesome tool. What exactly is the hashtag 5-second rule? The rule is a simple, research-backed metacognition tool that creates immediate and lasting behavior change. Metacognition, by the way, is just a fancy word for any technique that allows you to beat your brain in order to accomplish your greater goals. How do I use the rule? Using the rule is simple. Whenever you feel an instinct fire up to act on a goal, or a commitment, or the moment you feel that yourself hesitate on doing something and you know you should do, use the rule. Start by counting backwards to yourself, 5 4 3 2 1. The counting will help you focus on the goal or commitment and distract you from the worries, thoughts, and fears in your mind. As soon as you reach 1, move. That's it. It's so simple, but let me hammer this home one more time. Anytime there's something you know you should do, but you feel uncertain, afraid, or overwhelmed, just take control by counting backwards 5 4 3 2 1. That'll quiet your mind. Then, move when you get to 1. Counting and moving are actions. By teaching yourself to take action when normally you'd stop yourself by thinking, you can create remarkable change. Counting backwards does a few important things simultaneously. It distracts you from your worries, it focuses your attention on what you need to do, it prompts you to act, and it interrupts the habits of hesitating, overthinking, and holding yourself back. If you are wondering if the rule works if you count forward 1 2 3 4 5 instead of backwards 5 4 3 2 1, the answer is no, it doesn't. Just ask Trent. As Trent discovered, if you count up, you can keep counting. When you count backwards 5 4 3 2, there is nowhere to go after you reach 1, so it is a prompt to move. Why is it called the hashtag 5-second rule? I get this question a lot, and I wish I had a better answer. I called it the hashtag 5-second rule because that's the first thing that popped into my mind the morning I first used it, and this nom stuck. Remember, I had seen a rocket launch the night before and thought to myself, I'll just launch myself out of bed like a rocket. The next morning, I counted backwards 5 4 3 2 1 because that's what NASA does when it launches a spaceship. I started with 5 for no particular reason, other than it felt like the right amount of time to give myself. I've come to learn that there are a lot of other 5-second rules in the world. Like the one about eating food off the floor, the 5-second shot clock in basketball, the game Ellen DeGeneres plays on her talk show, and the 5-second test you can do to see if a sidewalk surface is too hot for your dog to walk on. Had I known my rule would spread around the world, I might have come up with a more original name. But in hindsight, all these hashtag 5-second rules have something in common. They require you to physically move within a 5-second window. Physical movement is the most important part of my rule, too, because when you move your physiology changes and your mind follows. Perhaps the name is not only apropos, it's actually perfect because it references other 5-second windows in life, and that makes the rule feel that much more familiar, universal, and true. The rule sounds like Nike's tagline, just do it. The difference between just do it and the hashtag 5-second rule is simple. Just do it is a concept, it's what you need to do. The hashtag 5-second rule is a tool, it's how you make yourself do it. There's a reason why just do it is the most famous tagline in the world and resonates across all cultures. Do you know what makes the tagline so powerful? It's the word just. The word just is in there because Nike recognizes something we've talked a lot about in this book. Right before we act, we first stop and think. Just do it acknowledges that we're all struggling to push ourselves to be better and do better. We all hesitate and wrestle with our feelings before we jump in. The word just tells us that we're not alone. Every single one of us has these small hesitations. It's the moment right before you ask to join the pickup game that's already underway, the moment you contemplate whether to do a third set of reps, or when you start to question whether you'll head out the door for a run in the pouring rain. The tagline acknowledges that you have excuses and fears, and Nike is encouraging you to be bigger than them. Come on, don't think about it, just do it. I know you're tired, just do it. I know you are afraid, just do it. Nike's tagline is pushing you to move past that doubt and get in the game. Nike knows that there's greatness inside of you, and it's on the other side of your excuses. It resonates profoundly because every single one of us, even an Olympic athlete, needs a push. And that's where the hashtag 5-second rule comes in. The rule is how you push yourself when no coach, competitor, parent, screaming fan, or teammate is there to push you. With the rule, you just 5 4 3 2 1 to push yourself. Is there a 5-second window of opportunity for everyone? Yes. There is a window for everyone between the moment you have an instinct to change and your mind killing that instinct. While your mind starts working against you in nanoseconds, the barrage of thoughts and excuses don't seem to kick into full force and stop you for a few seconds. The 5-second window seems to work for everyone. That said, by all means play around with it to make it work for you. Personally, I notice that the longer I wait between my initial impulse to act and physically moving, the louder that the excuses get, and the harder it becomes to force myself to move. As Angela found, those 5-second decisions turned into 50 seconds and then 500 seconds when the fear was deeper. She now treats the hashtag 5-second rule as if her brain will self-destruct at 0. If it works for you to shorten or lengthen the window, personalize the rule to make it work for you. Matt, a good friend of my husband and myself, was training for his first Tough Mudder race. He lives in New Jersey and he sent this text to my husband during the freezing cold winter. He had shrunk the window to 3 seconds because he noticed how fast his mind would go to work to stop him. Tell your girlfriend Mel that the 5-second rule is working over here. I have it down to 3 seconds. Why contemplate life's complexities when you can be moving ahead after just 3 seconds? In 5 seconds I can make up at least 2 excuses in my mind. In 3 seconds my mind has already pushed the first button on my phone to move the ball ahead. As I awoke this morning I mistakenly checked the thermometer. That took 2 seconds, but in that third second I started to put on my right sneaker. That is how the system in your brain works. The longer that you think about something, the lower your urge to act becomes. We are amazing at fooling ourselves into staying exactly where we are. As soon as that impulse to act kicks in, you start rationalizing it away. That's why you've got to move faster so you can break free of your excuses before your mind traps you. What can I use it for? Over the years, we've heard thousands of examples of how people are using the rule to improve their life, relationships, happiness, and work. But every example falls into one of 3 distinct categories for how you can use it. You can use it to change your behavior. You can use the rule to push yourself to create new habits, pull yourself away from destructive habits, and master the skills of self-monitoring and self-control so that you can be more intentional and effective in your relationships with yourself and others. You can use it to act with everyday courage. You can use the rule to discover the courage you need to do things that are new, scary, or uncertain. The rule will quiet your self-doubt and build confidence as you push yourself to pursue your passions, share your ideas at work, volunteer for projects that stretch you, create your art, and become a better leader. You can use it to control your mind. You can use the rule to stop the barrage of negative thoughts and endless worries that weigh you down. You can also break the habit of anxiety and beat any fear. When you take control of your mind, you'll be able to think about things that bring you joy instead of focusing on the negative. And that, in my opinion, is the most powerful way to use the rule. Why does something so simple work? The rule works because it is so simple. There are all kinds of tricky ways your brain kills your urge to act. Some of my most favorite researchers, professors, and thinkers have written bestsellers and delivered epic TED Talks detailing how our own minds betray us with a seemingly endless list of tricks including cognitive biases, the paradox of choice, the psychological immune system, and the spotlight effect. What all these great researchers have taught me is that the moment you want to change, break a habit, or do something hard or scary, your brain goes to work to stop you. Basically, your mind tricks you into thinking things through. And the moment you get tricked into doing this, you'll get trapped by your thoughts. Your mind has a million ways to talk you out of acting. That's the neurological reason why it's so hard to change. As I mentioned in Chapter 1, change requires you to do things that are uncertain, scary, or new. Your brain, by design, will not let you do such things. Your brain is afraid of things that feel uncertain, scary, or new, so it will do whatever it can to talk you out of doing those things. It is part of your hardwiring. And this hesitation happens really fast. That is why you have to act even faster to beat it. The rule leverages and is an example of some powerful and proven principles. In modern psychology, a bias toward action, internal locus of control, behavioral flexibility, the progress principle, starting rituals, the golden rule of habits, authentic pride, deliberate action, if-then planning, and activation energy. Throughout this book, you'll learn more about these principles as we go into Greater detail about how you can use the rule in specific areas of your life. How can one rule work on so many areas of my life? The hashtag 5-second rule actually only works on one thing: you stop yourself from changing the exact same way every single time you hesitate, then you overthink, and you lock yourself in mental jail. That moment of hesitation is a killer. Hesitation sends a stress signal to your brain. It's a red flag that signals something's wrong and your brain goes into protection mode. This is how we are wired to fail. Think about this for a minute. You don't hesitate all time. For example, you don't hesitate when you pour a cup of coffee in the morning. You don't hesitate when you put on your jeans. You don't hesitate when you turn on the television. You don't hesitate to call your best friend. You don't think at all. You just have the instinct to call your friend, and you pick up the phone, and you call them. But when you hesitate just before making a sales call or texting someone back, it makes your brain think that something must be wrong. The longer you think about that sales call, the less likely you'll make it. Most of us don't even realize how often we hesitate because we've done it so often that it's become a habit. Here's how Tim described it after using the rule. Honestly, I think the rule is powerful simply because keeping it on the tip of your thoughts allows you to process and start on activities you would normally gloss over and ignore. I also keep saying, what the hell, I'm leaning into this. So, it is powerful because it helps you break the formally embedded thought patterns about doing things and allows me, anyway, to safely go for it. Seriously, why was I afraid of doing some of the things I am now doing? It was never like anything I did or didn't do was going to end the world. But what you will soon learn is that moment of hesitation can also be used to your advantage. Every time you catch yourself hesitating, it is a push moment. The 5-second window is opened and it is time to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to push yourself forward and be bigger than your excuses. Seeing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown can serve as a vivid reminder of the rule and its importance. Art hung the numbers on his office wall to keep him motivated and moving forward all day at work. Can the rule create lasting behavior change too? The rule will beat the brain's operating system to help you win the battle with resistance in the moment. But do you know what else? Over time, as you repeat the rule, you destroy that system altogether. One thing most of us don't realize is that patterns of thinking like worrying, self-doubt, and fear are all just habits, and you repeat these thought patterns without even realizing it. If everything you do to sabotage your happiness is a habit, that means you can follow the latest research to break the habits of waiting, doubting, holding back, staying silent, feeling insecure, avoiding, worry, overthinking. There is a golden rule of habits and it is very simple. In order to change any bad habit, you must replace the behavior pattern that you repeat. I will explain this in detail in part 4 of the book. I'll teach you how to end the mental habits of worrying, anxiety, panic, and fear using the hashtag 5-second rule in combination with all the latest research. For now, what you need to know is this: the hashtag 5-second rule and its countdown trick, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 go, will become your new behavior pattern. Instead of holding back, you'll 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to push forward. The countdown is also what researchers call a starting ritual. Starting rituals interrupt your bad default patterns and trigger new, positive patterns. If you master the rule, you will reprogram your mind. You will teach yourself new behavior patterns. Instead of defaulting to worry, hesitation, and fear, you will find yourself automatically acting with courage. Over time, as you take more and more steps forward, you'll discover something else: real confidence and pride in yourself. The authentic kind that comes when you honor your goals and accomplish small wins that are important to you. Everything that you think might be set in stone, including your habits, mindset, and personality, are flexible. The implications of this for your life are absolutely thrilling. You can change your default mental settings and your habits 1 5-second decision at a time. Those small decisions add up to major changes in who you are, what you feel, and how you live. Change your decisions and you'll change your life. And what will change your decisions more than anything? Courage. If you have the courage to start, you have the courage to succeed. Part 2.